Hello, my name is Joshua Keith, and this is theburningcoal.com, a website dedicated to God's glory, His grace, and our response to it. Today we're going to do a Monday motivation, and we're going to talk about the idea of mourning. Now, we talked last week about the Beatitudes, and the first one that we looked at was, Blessed are the poor in spirit, those who realize that they are in fact poor in spirit, that they have a debt that they cannot pay, that they need and have to rely on God for everything. And so it is with that in mind that we go into the next beatitude that Jesus teaches. In Matthew 5:4, it says, Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. And so we see that this idea of poor of spirit, understanding our place, understanding the situation that we have put ourselves in, that's something that should cause us sadness. That's something that should cause us to be mourning. And there are times where our society likes to avoid these negative feelings of mourning, the sadness. But what Jesus here is saying is that's wholly appropriate in the right context. Again, Christians, as Paul talks about, are supposed to be joyful people. But when it comes to sin when it comes to understanding our sin and the consequences of those sins, we need to be people who realize the gravity of that situation. It's not something that you just overlook, that you just think is no big deal, and so let's just joke about it. It's funny that people sin. No. This is a serious matter. It is something that saddens our God, and it should sadden us. So when we talk about mourning, what is it that we should be mourning? Well, first of all, we need to mourn our sin. When we understand what sin really is, that God created this world for us, that He put us as the pinnacle of His creation so that we could be in a relationship with Him. And basically what we did with that is we went and we spit in His face. We decided that we didn't care what He had to say, but instead we were going to put our own desires and our own feelings ahead of what God wanted for us. That's even more damaging whenever you think about what we've been studying in 1 Peter, when we understand that a lot of the times when we choose sin, we're choosing ourselves over other people. And so we hurt those around us and we hurt our God. And that should cause us sadness, that we decided that we were more important than all these other people, and we decided we didn't care who we hurt. That wasn't right, and we should mourn those decisions. Not only that, we need to mourn the consequences. First of all, the consequence of our sin meant that Jesus had to die on the cross. That's how much God was repulsed by our sin, that the only way to make it right was the sacrifice. And so we need to mourn the fact that we caused the death of Jesus because of our stubbornness, our willfulness. Not only that, but a lot of times when we run into problems in our lives, and I understand this is not every single issue that we have in our lives, but there are a lot of things that we can trace back to the decisions that we make, that we have messed up our own lives because of the choices that we thought were best, even though God told us that that was wrong. And it doesn't just hurt us, but it hurts our loved ones. It hurts our family. It hurts our friends. It hurts our brothers and sisters in Christ. And so we make a mess out of our lives and the lives of those people around us because we decided to be sinful. That should cause us pain. That should be something that causes us to mourn. Furthermore, we should really mourn when we see that it's not just us who have made this decision, but the world all around us. Obviously, our own sin is sad enough in and of itself. But then whenever you see that the world around us has also sinned against God, and that there is pain and that there is agony because people are constantly rebelling against God. There should be mourning because of all the sin that we see. And so as we go through this week, let's make sure that we don't take our sin for granted. Let's make sure that we don't sin against those we love, sin against our God, and just say, oh, well, no big deal. But instead that we actually mourn whenever we decide that we are more important than anybody else. I hope this lesson blesses you in your walk in His kingdom.